Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 351 at scavengerlife.com.
So this week I listened to the radio.
Yes.
And I heard there's a woman and her husband, they go by the name of Frugal.
We've talked about them before on the podcast.
We don't know them. I just know them from their blog.
Yeah.
They're one of many, many bloggers out there that blog about personal finance and
financial independence, early retirement.
And we kind of overlap it with them a little bit. Right. They just come at it from a different angle. They come at it of, they have like really good jobs, you know, in making a bunch of money, you know, $150,000 a year, being super frugal, saving 80% of what they make, putting it into index funds, and then they can retire after, 5 to 7 years. And it's what they've done. They I think they're 33.
They're young.
And they just had a second kid, and 2 years ago they actually bought like a homestead, a farm in Vermont. And they're just now retired. I
mean, they did it. They planned it and they did it.
So anyway, she just wrote a book about their experience, and she was on NPR, and she had on one of those call-in shows. I think it was On Point.
On Point, yeah.
I will link to it or on the blog, so if you're interested,
you can listen.
And it's interesting to me because the conversation is like, so how are you? Tell me about the stuff that you do. Why are you here? And she gives this whole pitch that I had just said. And instead of it being like exciting, like, wow, let's talk about different strategies, it's more about like the whole show was basically that's not possible for most people, or you could only do that because of XYZ that's not available to other people.
The callers were saying that.
The callers,
that's
and
the stuff
even the host. The host had been like, oh, okay, I could never do that. Or
right.
And I find, like, when we talk to people about what we do, like our family or our friends, that conversation can only go so far before we get the same kind of attitude. Yeah. Where what we do and the kind of life we have here, this like independent kind of of a life, they always come up with excuses why it's not possible. Yeah, and it's good. I forgot her name, the Frugal Words girl. She was really good in the sense of like admitting, like, I come from a privileged background, like, a middle-class educated background where, I was educated.
I went to a very good school.
My husband and I both had good jobs where we were making good, But the fact is, that's not that uncommon. I mean, not everyone is coming from super poor and disabled and, kids that need intense medical attention and, all these things. I mean,
basically what you're saying is a lot more people than they think could do it.
Right. If you only talk about the edge cases, you can always find reasons why things can't happen.
Why they're the exceptions. So I was actually speaking to my sister about this exact thing, and she has a friend who's in the tech industry, and he was like, she works for like a smallish nonprofit. He was like, you could be making so much money, doing some humdrum job at an office at like the tech sector. And she actually mentioned a friend of hers another friend of hers who's trying to do early retirement, the exact same thing. And she's like, I could never do that on my salary. But I actually know what her salary is, and I'm like, actually, you kind of could if you really, really like were hardcore about being frugal, which she's not. So it's funny because she's like, they make 3-4 times what I make, and I'm like, you could still do it, and there are ways to do it, no matter what position you're in. Not all positions, but a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to find ways why things aren't possible. Right. But I guess the only a reason why I bring this up is just hearing that conversation on the its radio was so frustrating because we have been in those conversations
many times.
Oftentimes it's with a family. They'll ask us about what we're doing, and they always joke about how we sell stuff on the internet and stuff. Yeah. And then when we start really talking, you know, like, I'm very open. I'm like, okay, well, let's really talk about
numbers.
Let's talk about money. Let's talk about numbers. Let's talk about buying real estate. Let's talk about bills. You know, let's talk about all these things.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel, number one, petty. I feel like when you really start talking about it's money around people can make me feel petty.
Right, they're making you feel that way.
They're making me feel like I'm bragging or I'm showing off or something, instead of like really being interested in like, that's interesting the way you did your its numbers. I've talked to people where they're like, I wonder if I could do that, and I'm like, okay, well, let's
break it down.
Let's talk
How
about
could you do it?
How much do you make? It's what are your bills? And when we start getting into it,
they don't want to talk about it.
They get upset.
My sister got really mad at us
because I'm being
it.
kind of an a-hole for, you know, assuming that the way that they're spending their money is wrong. You know?
Like, you know, a lot of people we know who live in the city, and this makes sense, they spend a lot of money at restaurants and bars. And I say bars because alcohol costs a lot of money. So, you know, that was one of the things where, you know, my sister was like, I enjoy going out. I enjoy, you know, being social in the city, and that's what it costs. And we're like, yeah. And so you'll actually never own a house. Like that's what it comes down to, is you have not saved the money for anything. And she was not happy hearing that because, but we were correct. You know, we were like, that's just the truth. I
mean, and we were right, not in the sense of like we want to be right and prove to her that things can't happen. It's just like anyone can want anything.
Right.
They can want to buy a house.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's all possible, but then
how?
The numbers have to make sense. And if you're not willing to give up a one thing, then you're not going to be able to get this other thing. Right. And I feel like so many people, and I lived like this for a long time. And just you live in this world where you want things, but you're not willing to do the changes to get there. Right. And it really is all about talking about money.
Yeah.
And I find that it's like talking about sex with people.
Right.
You know, it's just something...
It's super private.
I guess that you just don't talk about, you know? Right. I mean, it's just, you don't talk about it in polite company.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But really, it's like, you know, I enjoy talking about his money, I guess, because we've kind of gotten a handle on it, and we know our in, you know, the money in, the money out so well that I'm comfortable about it. But I guess if you live a life where just, you know, that paycheck comes, it goes.
Right.
I don't really know. I don't really even want to know what happens to my money, and, you know.
And I understand that in a way, but at the same time, it's like when we're having conversations with people about numbers, that, you know, talking about real estate, talking about bills, you know, we really are like, well, how much is it? Like, you know, my mom just like sold her condo just now to buy another condo, and down the street. We were just talking numbers. We're like, okay, so how much did you sell it for? How much is your mortgage? How much did you pay for upgrades before you sold it? Blah, 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 blah. And she's actually pretty good about, although sometimes she doesn't know the numbers. She's like, I gotta check. But she's pretty good about talking numbers. But that's what it comes down to. You're like, that's reality. Like, did you lose money on your house? Did you make money? Are you able to afford the other one you're buying now? Like, if not, what are we talking about? We're talking about nothing, you know?
And sometimes it's like I get kind of bored being around people because I feel like we end up talking about really...
About nothing.
inane things, you know?
I think we're very, like, also...
I'm like, this is... Like, people, wake up, sheeple!
We're very, like, goal-oriented, too. So, like, you know, we'll have friends who own real estate or are running businesses, and they're, like you said, they're like, I want to do this thing, or this is my goal. And we're like, okay, what are you doing to achieve that? Like, how have you done that since the last time I saw you?
Yeah,
and it gets really annoying.
It makes me feel bad because I'm listening to us, and I'm just like, oh my God, are we those, like, that sounds like it's none of our business, you know? And I guess that's a thing I struggle with, like if people are asking me, how are you doing? Or they ask, what have you been up to?
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you what I've been up to.
Right.
Down to the numbers.
Down to the numbers that made it happen.
And the numbers are important because the numbers are what tell the story, you know, about building a business and, you know, but I'm just like, that's not what people want to know. Like, people don't want to hear that because, you know, of everything we just talked about.
That just means other people are boring.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's one reason why we do this podcast is because I enjoy, I don't know, somehow people find this.
Right.
You know? They find
and they want to talk about numbers.
And they find our a forum, and, you know, when people come on a forum, and, you know, we have a section of, like, introduce who you are. And I'm always like, okay, let's talk about the
numbers.
Because the numbers will tell a story. Do they have a hobby business?
Right.
Do they have a real, you know, are they
building it?
I don't like hobby and a real is business, but is it like a side gig or is it like
your full-time
this
gig?
Is what it judges you? And those numbers teach me. You know, someone's like, I mean, we've had people come on and they have like 10,000 items in the store and they're making like $15,000 a month, and I'm like,
how?
Those are interesting numbers. Let's really talk about that. And some people are willing to break them down, and then some people, like, when I start to probe, they kind of disappear because I don't know if they're real or not, or if they don't want to talk about it.
Well, as we're talking about this, and I'm thinking about, like, how we've talked to other people about numbers, I think there's certain levels of, like, feeling embarrassment around numbers and finances because a lot of people overspend, or a lot of people don't know what they're spending. And, you know, like we were talking about with my sister, I think she was, you know, she kind of thought about it and felt a little, you know, embarrassed that she was like, yeah, I probably spend my entire paycheck just, like, going out to eat.
Right.
And we're like, what?
Because she's young.
Yeah, she's young and she's like dating people.
And she lives in a city.
Yeah, so I think there's, you know, and there's certain times where I felt like that, where people ask me about certain numbers and I just, like, don't really want to answer them because I'm like, I spent too much on that, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. And
so, you know, there's, you know.
And, you know, it is too bad. I mean, I see that so many issues in this country could get solved if, like, we had a national conversation about numbers, but
well, the other thing too is, like, I feel like talking about finances, if it doesn't happen, like, within your household, like, it doesn't, there are no classes unless you go to, like, business class, you know, business school or whatever. Sure. Like, in high school, they're not like, let's tell you how to balance a checkbook and why that's important. And, you know, that I never had a class like that. Right. You know, that's crazy that we don't have classes. Here's how you can better save your money, you know, get money taken out of your paycheck right away so that you never see it, you know, which we learned on our own. But even my dad was, like, he still is, like, super into stocks and investing, and he's never ever talked to any of us about it. And you're like, maybe I could have learned something from you, but you never ever talked to me about it, you know?
No, and, you know, we've talked about this before about, you know, how we don't talk about numbers in this country, you know, in school. Our parents, you know, and me and Jim Collins had this conversation.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know, about how each of us grew up and how our family talked about.
Exactly. Like finances.
I mean, again, just hearing that, it's woman talk on that on that, it's radio show, and I'll link to it. It's just, God, almost every single call was a negative, you know.
They weren't like, I'm so inspired.
Right, you know. It was just like, it's not possible.
So did that surprise you, or were you like,
it kind of...
Why didn't you call in?
I think what surprised me most was that the host was a negative.
Even the host was, like, skeptical.
Like, so the host was, you know, had the tone of, this is interesting.
But not for everyone.
But that's not possible for everybody else. You know, and that's crazy because I bet that host probably makes $200,000. Like, I bet they could do that. I mean, really, like, and there are people who hear this podcast who do eBay kind of like part-time and they have like a full-time job.
Right.
And I've seen some people, I think they make pretty good cash. They make over $100,000, you know?
Right,
and I'm like, man.
Save that money.
If you're making that kind of money and if you're willing to live a frugal, you know, and frugal doesn't mean like like Spartan.
Right.
It just means not like buying brand new cars and like jet skis and like going to Cancun twice a year, you know? Time. It's like if you saved money for 5 or 6 years, you could save up a lot of money.
Yep, exactly.
But again, it's just goals, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man. See, I'm even nervous talking about it right here. Even though we're talking about it in the kind of audience we have here, I feel like on YouTube especially.
Yeah.
We're going to get comments of just like why like us talking about this stuff is wrong, you know.
Yeah, but we talk about this stuff every week. I mean, this is like the basis of our podcast. It comes up in a different way. And I understand there are all different situations that people are in, you know, but
I mean, and I think also the reason why it feels petty to me, or why I can sometimes made to feel petty, is that, you know, and I'm very open about it. We'll do our numbers as we always do. We need $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
To have the you know, have all of this that you can see before it's
no one can see anything.
Our modest home, our 3 cats, you know,
our other businesses,
our whole life we have, not having to work for other people, and it is kind of crazy that this life comes down to just a number.
Yep.
You know?
It does.
And unfortunately, you know, we want to say money doesn't buy happiness, and, you know, it's more to its life than cash, but really, not really. It does just come down to a number, and everyone has to find what that number is.
Right.
Like, what's the number that you need to bring home every week, and what kind of life will that buy you?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And that's the equation. I'm always trying to talk with our friends and our family, because I find it so interesting.
Right.
Like, what kind of life are you trying to attain, and what are the numbers that have to get there, and do those work?
Right.
And if those don't work, why don't they work?
Right.
And are you going to live a life where those numbers don't match? Because that's a crazy way to live,
right,
you know?
Right. Well, it's like, you know, it's like that, like you were saying, that saying, oh, money doesn't buy happiness. And you're like, yeah, but money does buy me food and a place to live.
Yeah, it's just
like, you know, it's like you do have to have money. Right. You do. In this society, you have to have something to pay to have food and shelter. End of story.
It's true.
You know, at the basis of it all.
Yeah. Cool. So
anyway.
There you go. We just talked about it.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about eBay. That's essentially how we make that the money that we make.
Right.
So we have in our main store over 6,000 items now.
Yep, we've hit over 6,000.
Yeah, we've been kind of straddling, you know, 5,800, something like that. But you've been kind of going into overdrive and a listing.
Well, it helps to have a helper taking photos. So, you know, drafts are ready for me. But it does take a lot of concentration and time not to get distracted and just say, this is all I'm doing. I'm not leaving the house. I'm not going grocery shopping. I'm not doing any laundry. Like, I am just sitting down doing this.
And even though sales have been a little soft.
As we're saying now.
The new it's business speak. You know, the idea is, our strategy is just to bulk up our store as much as we can for when sales do come.
Yeah.
They'll be right there.
Exactly.
On the shelves.
Ready. Getting dusty.
And in our second store, we do have this kind of autopilot store. We're down to 945 items in that store, you know.
And we don't list anything new over there.
Right, because it's a whole thing where the subscriptions that eBay has, so we're on the intermediate.
It's called premium.
Right, and
basic, premium, anchor.
For a monthly rate we pay, you only get 1,000 items. So it doesn't make sense to put any more
than 1,000.
Over 1,000. So
I know, it's weird.
It's kind of weird, and so its next step after that is anchor, and that's up to 10,000. Yeah. So it's just too big of a jump.
Yeah.
And then one thing we I don't know if we mentioned this a week ago, but people have been talking about it, and it's one of these. eBay sent us a message that said, buyers have these items in their carts.
Right.
If you drop the price by at least 5%, we will send them a message about, the discount. And we actually, and it tells you those items. I think there were like 10 items.
Yeah.
And I think we tried it, right? I don't think any of the ones that we had sold, although people on the forums said, 2 things sold or 1 thing sold. I mean,
I don't think we sold anything.
I don't know, honestly, if it's a good or bad thing. I guess it's interesting. Obviously, and people were talking about this, it could just encourage a race to the bottom where it's just...
right.
Number one, a buyer knows if they put things in their cart and keep them there for 2 days, they'll get a message that says, now the price is cheaper. Hey, that's great,
right.
I'll just do that all the time.
Yeah.
Or number 2, it's just going to be a race to the bottom. We're just and we know this, there are some people that get so hungry for sales, they're just discounting 20%, But that's what the free market is. Amazon did that too, where, I remember in our Amazon inventory, you would see our inventory, and then they would have a thing it's next to it that said someone else is doing this item for $2. So
yeah,
and all I have to do is click a thing,
it reprices it.
Yeah, and so that is kind of a dangerous thing. But anyway, that's just something new.
Some people said their stuff sold, so that's not a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of a pain where it's not as easy as Amazon. You click through and you really just have to go in and revise your listing, and then you're like, well, what if they don't buy it? And now I discounted it. And
yeah, but so, that's, I guess, that's just the way it is. Yeah. Keep bringing those prices down.
Exactly.
And like I always say, at some point, each of us have to make a choice of how it's low we want to bring our prices down. And at some point, you just allow those people that want to sell things for cheap, let them do it. And if they can figure out how to do that, cool. My assumption is they're going to burn out,
Yeah.
How often can you sell things for $15 and free ship,
Right.
How long can a business like that go on?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a tough business.
Tough business, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about our numbers.
The actual numbers.
Yep.
Don't be embarrassed to talk about the numbers.
We're definitely not embarrassed. So in our main store, we made a little over $1,400.
Hey.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
To make 1,000, we made $1,400.
Okay.
That is much different from Christmas time, I'll tell you that much.
No.
If we put our budget based on the numbers we made during the holidays, we would be in bad trouble.
Yeah, we would be in big trouble.
We've said, our budget to have our life here is based on our lowest, it's months. And, $1,400 isn't so great for us,
Yeah.
And in our second store, we made $105.98.
Yeah.
I mean, again, another just really sold 4 items in that store.
Yeah, it's really low.
But that is what it is. Okay, things we sold, is nothing kind of out of the ordinary. We sold a lamp for $115 or something.
Yep.
That was exciting.
Nothing to say about
Ryan
it.
is visibly...
It's just, that was the highest priced item, and it was a cool lamp. It's going to someone in Denmark, I believe, which is kind of cool.
I mean, I do think that's the thing about right now, is that $1,400 is a kind of store where we're selling things for an average of about $30.
Yeah, it is
really, I'm looking through this stuff.
Yeah.
If you sold, it is bread and butter.
Yeah.
It is
Hats,
coffee mugs.
Yeah.
Just really kind of random little gewgaws.
Doodads.
I mean, it is just kind of like that. And then when we're making $2,500 and $3,200 in a week, that's when we're selling expensive things too.
Right, several
where I can say,
things.
if we sold something for $300, we sold 5 things for $100.
Right, exactly.
And that is just not what is
not happening right now. Yeah.
And that's just how it is. That is the difference between having a business of just odds and ends versus if you can find that stuff that sells for a good amount of money.
Yeah.
And We have to be good with it all. Okay, customer issues. We sold a pair of glasses.
Eyeglasses. Right. Gold-filled vintage eyeglasses.
Those old-time Gandhi
like spectacles.
Spectacles.
Yeah. And what sucks about it is it sounds like they might have broken in transit, and it wasn't like the glass got shattered or anything. It's like part of the frame came apart.
Well, they broke right at
the nose.
Yeah, and the guy a photo of it.
He took a photo of it, which was very helpful. But I still think I can sell them because they do have gold in them. Mm-hmm. So I think he paid $75, so that sucks to have to take that back.
But
it did break, so
It is. That's how it is. Okay, things we learned in the forum. 2 things. Number 1, urban scavengers.
Yes.
We've had those people who have been coming on as we talked about our experience trying to do things on Craigslist and Let Go.
And OfferUp.
Like even just the past couple days, we're getting messages like, yeah, I'll buy this if you bring it to me.
People want it delivered for free.
If you sell it to me for $25.
Like just low price. So
it doesn't work for us. Yeah. But urban scavengers, one guy said, because he lives in an urban area, it couldn't be better. And I can see why. He's like, I'll just drive down the street. I'll see a piece of furniture on the side of the road.
Grab it.
I'll pick it up. I'll put it in my yard. And I'll put it on a Let Go. It's so easy.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there for a week. If someone wants it, cool. If not, I'll throw it away. And it doesn't cost them anything. And
It's so different being in an urban and suburban, non-rural area. I feel like it's so different.
And that, to me, we've talked about this. It would be my dream if we lived in an urban area where we would just be getting appliances, furniture, bookcases,
just stuff like that.
You can get that stuff for free. These people just giving it away.
People are moving. They got to get rid of it,
And then even if you can make $25 on it, it's easy money.
It's so cheap. Yeah, so that's the hard thing. Like, God, I have a vacuum cleaner up. I think I have it up for $30. I swear, I can't tell you how many people are like, would you take $15? I'm like, are you serious right now? No, I won't. It's just, this costs $100 at Walmart. I'm asking for $30, it's really, it does kind of get annoying, but...
Yeah, I mean...
I know people are looking for deals because I'm always looking for deals.
I think where we are in a rural area, it's a great place to find stuff, and then we sell them to people who live in urban areas for the most part.
On the internet.
Yeah, it doesn't really go the other way around.
Exactly.
The other thing that I learned in its forums, if true, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I hope it's true.
A guy came on and said, I think it's a guy, I don't ever know.
A person,
a human being came on and said, eBay is now combining its shipping orders.
That is what they saw, that seemed to see through the
right. So the problem was in the old days, the olden days,
like yesterday,
a person from England would come on our store, they would buy 2 things, and eBay would send them 2 different invoices, and they would get packaged differently, and they would have to pay and it would be really expensive, and the person would obviously be like, hey, I just bought 2 things,
put them in the same box. But eBay doesn't like that because the global shipping program has reference numbers for each item.
So there was no way we could do that,
because we don't have control over the
We would just
invoice.
be like, hope that they would just pay it, and some people they would just pay it. And now it sounds cool. He said that he sold 2 things, and it automatically got put in the same box.
In the same, cart.
Although what's interesting was...
I'd love to see that,
He said that there was a problem with his because one was like a book and one was just something else.
They paid for media mail.
And then he's like, but I can't put this other thing in the media mail, so that's a problem. So I'm assuming the answer is, well, it needs to be a manual thing where they can... do it manually.
I just wonder how they calculated the combined shipping. That's what...
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it internationally, but even just domestically, I'm like, how did eBay... It doesn't sound like they said, this is a priority mail thing, and this is a book, so it's media mail. We're just going to combine it so it's,
I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's better to combine it, even if the book has to go first class or something, or priority, or, you know, it's not going to save you that much.
Yeah. It's just, money. It's interesting to know how they are achieving that shipping number.
But again, I will go back to it. You know, I'm glad to hear if this is true, if eBay is like tweaking things and making things better. I just wish there was communication about this. Like instead, we're like having to talk in like these dark corners
and
about like
think about. So just real quick before I forget this thought. You know, we've talked to friends who live in South America, and they use these shipping companies, as a lot of us have shipped to in, you know, Doral, Florida, Portland, Oregon. It's like these shipping companies where you buy all your stuff from Amazon, eBay, Vitacost, whatever, and you send it to them under your reference number. They put it all in one box and send it to you in your country. I wonder if eBay is going to start to do something like that, where it doesn't matter if you just bought from me. If you bought from 5 different sellers and you had all this stuff in your cart, they're like, we're going to ship all this to you in one box.
Okay, I
wonder.
I just want to be clear. That is just off the top of your head idea. That we have no proof that that's happening. Right. That would be interesting, and that would be smart for them to basically become
one of those. Yeah.
How do they call that? Like a coast shipper, or what's the word for those? Like they have them, on the coast.
I forget what they're called.
Where like a company will specifically be like they ship to people in Colombia,
in one country,
or in Taiwan or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously the reason that would be good is because they want people to buy a handful of stuff, not just one item that shipping was really high. I don't want to like pay a high shipping for this other item, So. I do have a question, though.
What's your question?
I wonder, this is what I wonder. If a seller has free shipping on an item, and they have the global shipping turned on, I guess that they would get free domestic shipping, but they wouldn't get free shipping from the Kentucky warehouse to their country.
So it's definitely not free to their country, but that is a good question. Like,
it's like, is eBay like, it's just free?
Is it free to the Kentucky?
I'm assuming it's free to the Kentucky warehouse, and then they're like, this is how much it costs to ship from here to here after the warehouse. You know what I should do? This is what I should do. I should go on an item that has free shipping and say my country is, Great Britain, and see what it says.
So here's my dream.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my dream. So right here, there's a little small side table beside us here that a microphone is on, actually.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, so there's like a little circle right here, like a little platform.
Okay.
And it is like a Star Trek transporter.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, someone buys something from us.
You put it on the transporter.
I put it on the transporter. I type in the coordinates and I say send. That would fix so many problems, And that way, I can be like, hey, I have an extra hamburger, and someone's like, yeah, I'll give you, whatever, 50 cents for it. I'm like, here you go. And then I get 50 cents.
50 cents?
Whatever, because it's so cheap to ship things.
Is this a Black Mirror episode right now?
Because there's no downside to it.
Okay, well, as soon as they figure out...
that would solve a lot of problems.
Transporter technology.
I think in the next eBay update that they do...
they should do
That's what they should offer. That's all.
No comment.
Yeah. Okay, what our coming week will be like?
More listing for me. My eBay helper is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a second helper now.
Yes.
We have just gotten her to take pictures.
She's just taking pictures because I want her to get into a flow.
Right. Because it does take time to take pictures and write a title and kind of fill out the whole page,
It takes time when you're new. I mean, for us, I joke around that I could do it in my sleep because I just have done it so much. But and I know how I like my titles and stuff like that. So it is hard sometimes to teach other people. Even my helper, our other helper, who's been with us for like a year. Even her titles, I'll tweak her titles, sometimes.
Because when it really comes down to it, we're paying between $1 and $3 an item.
Which is kind of crazy, right?
To have things...
processed.
Yeah, depending on if we want titles or not. That's paying people at a wage that I think is fair.
It's reasonable,
it's not like we're trying to cram down the price. We're trying to be like... give people a money that they can actually pay
that
bills
they can
on.
use.
But it does get a little bit expensive, and when we're just doing like T-shirts that sell for $15, it
gets a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But that's why with bulk items like T-shirts or pants or whatever, I try to get her to just honestly be as fast as possible.
Right.
Because I'm like, there's no title,
only,
just crank through these, give me the measurements, and get through as many as you can per hour.
Right. And it's very helpful. And
it's great because honestly, like, if I don't pay myself an hourly wage like I do with them, but if I can kind of take that time burden off of them, and I sit here and I turn the radio on, like you were saying, listening to the radio, and just like type, great, price, done.
Yep.
That's just how it, look, we could just not hire them at all and just have piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of stuff, which is exactly what was happening before we got our second helper.
Before we got a helper,
yeah,
we had death piles.
Just piles. After we got a helper,
we don't have death piles. Like right now, we don't have a pile of death anywhere. We do have a shelf full of stuff that needs to get processed, but it's far from being a death pile. A death pile is that thing that sits there. It's become almost like a feature of the home.
It's like you walk over it.
And it's looking at you. And you look at it and you're like, how is that going to get done? I don't even have a vision for how it's going to get processed,
That's why it's great to have a helper, because then you're like, here's the pile.
Yeah.
And it makes me do it.
Right. And the only reason why we have a helper is because some very friendly people came on our forum.
Yes.
And helped us understand how
it could
to make it work. One guy who, and this happens, people join in our a forum, they're very active and friendly and enthusiastic, and then they just disappear. I don't know where they go.
Yeah.
They
get busy.
Daniel.
Okay.
Is that his name?
Someone named Daniel, yeah.
And it's New York. And he even wrote the Craigslist posts where he was getting people. He talked about how he would pay people. He talked about how he communicated with it. He talked about the whole thing, and it was just so helpful.
And we were like,
we didn't do it the exact way he did, but he helped me understand the way to hire somebody for eBay in a way that made sense.
Well, I think also,
thank you.
The way that the thing, we interviewed him before. Yeah, okay.
Him and his wife.
He's just quiet because obviously he's busy. So it's funny because I think part of why a lot of people don't hire someone, and this includes us, you're afraid that the person won't do the work that is up to your standards or something. That's what I think it is. Because my mom, every time I talk to my mom, she's like, I need a helper. I'm like, just hire someone. Like, find an artistic college student nearby, or someone's, kid who is into photography or something. And, see if they can take pictures and give you measurements, And I think there's always the fear of, having to train someone and maybe they're not doing it right. And I had that issue a little bit with our helper, our newest helper, where I felt like she wasn't going fast enough. But I understood why she wasn't going fast enough, because number one, she was writing titles, so that was taking a little bit longer. And number two, she was, pointing out a lot more flaws than needed, things that I'm like, I actually can't even see what you're pointing out.
Taking pictures of the back of a tag that says how to wash.
Right, not the material,
so
but
it was just basically having to break down the
and now she's going really fast and it's great.
I think for me, my biggest hurdle from hiring someone was I don't want to hire a local person, because that's what you have to do, and then we teach them everything we do
and they go do
and
it.
Then they're like, I could do this, and then they become our competitor. And
right.
You know what? That has not happened.
It was
just like what Dan. That was his name.
Yeah, Dan.
Just like what Dan said. He was like, most people just want, they're just trying to make some cash.
Money. Yeah.
They just want a part-time job.
Exactly.
Make some cash. They're not trying to start a business.
Well, it's so funny because this is kind of like the theme of the day, where we're like, isn't everyone an entrepreneur?
Right.
It's like, doesn't everyone want to know every number down to the dime? No! Actually, most people don't.
People don't want to, right?
You're like, what? I think it's an unfounded fear, but at the same time, it's kind of like, when you're in the position of I can work for someone, I don't have to store the stuff, I don't have to answer questions, I don't have to ship it, I don't have to go buy it, I just come in, take pictures, and leave. For a young person,
right?
They're like, great, bye, thank you. bye. You know? So, yeah. And, you know, those people who help us, they could do a little, like, side store, like selling books or vintage clothes or something.
No, they couldn't.
But you know what? You know, one young woman has worked with us for a year, and she hasn't done that.
Yeah.
And she's busy, you know, and she
doesn't care.
Yeah, she doesn't care.
I enjoyed coming over here and helping these guys out.
And then I have other things to do.
I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, Ryan, what did we cook this week?
Oh my god. What are we at, like a PBS show? Oh my god.
So we talk about this just because it's interesting to us, because we like to eat. So this week I'm making salads. Sometimes I feel like my meals get very heavy.
Yes.
So sometimes I get on the salad kick. So I bought these salad bowls. There's little plastic, like it's
like they're like takeout container. Yeah. Takeaway. What are you in Britain?
Takeaway. So when I am hungry and I open up the fridge, the last thing I want to do is make a salad. I'm like, that's not what I'm hungry for. But if it's already made, there's like a salad, I put chicken in it and nuts,
and cheese.
Chop up some onions.
Yeah.
It's like basically going to a convenience store.
Yeah.
And they have the fridge,
like the prepackaged
section, and you grab it. Then I'm like, this salad looks delicious. I pour some stuff on it, shake it up, and I'm just chowing away.
Yeah.
I'm putting it away.
Yeah.
So it's what I do.
That's good. I should probably do that too. I've been extraordinarily lazy about like prepackaged foods, but I have been making other things.
So someone actually emailed me.
Yeah.
A scavenger.
Yeah.
He said we should try coconut flour wraps.
Now the thing about these coconut flour wraps is they're essentially crepes. Right. Crepes are milk, egg, and a little bit of flour. This is, almond milk, egg, and coconut flour.
Because it's no carbs in it.
Yeah, there are no carbs.
So he was telling me
low carbs.
We should buy them because you can buy them already.
Oh, you can buy them?
But they're
nowhere
really
around here.
They're like $1 each online.
Yeah, it's expensive.
So we found a recipe online, and we made them.
So what I did is I also have a low carb recipe for tortillas, like flat tortillas, and I think I might like those better because these ones to me taste like sweet, like crepes. Like they taste like I need to put like yogurt and like maple syrup on them. But what I have been using them for is to make chicken quesadillas. So what I do is I fry it on the skillet with cheese, and then I fill it with this like fried chicken and cabbage, and I fold it over and like get it all melty on the inside, and then I put sour cream and salsa on it. Yeah. And so it
looks delicious to me.
I've been eating that every morning for the last like 3 mornings. Yep. And it's like low carb chicken quesadilla for the win.
And it's something we've been doing. I've been like cutting wood all week. Just some trees fell, and trees, and
you've been chopping
doing
wood,
firewood. Yeah, like splitting wood and stacking it for
not by hand
next year. Nope, with the splitter.
The splitter.
But what we've been doing is taking a yogurt break.
Right. Okay, so I
feel right, and it makes me feel like the oldest person in the world, but it's so delicious. I come in. I get our vat of homemade yogurt. I scoop some out. I put pecans, some peanut butter powder. I chop up some apples and some chocolate pieces.
Chocolate chips.
And I just...
Okay, so...
It's so delicious.
So to be like a hardcore, like low-carb nerd, most low-carbers don't eat fruit. Like apples.
I eat fruit.
Right. So there are exceptions. Yeah. Like a lot of people wouldn't eat like regular dark chocolate, like semi-sweet chocolate chips. That's our exception. We're like, those are delicious. I'm putting those in my yogurt. Yeah. I don't care. So we make our own yogurt in the Instant Pot, and not the Instapot, the Instant Pot. And I have the recipe on the forum in the food section. It's so easy, and it's so much cheaper than buying yogurt at the store. It's ridiculous. It's like a third of the price, and we eat it all the time. The greatest thing for yogurt, for me, like you said, powdered peanut butter.
Yep.
What? You can buy it at Walmart, and we found it at Costco. We were like, what's this? I don't know, but that looks really good, and I'll definitely put it in my yogurt. And so, because I would put peanut butter in my yogurt, it all just sticks to the spoon. So it doesn't really work.
Okay, let's answer questions that people have called in about.
Okay, you can always call our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. You have 3 minutes to leave a message. And the first message I'm going to play, I forgot to play it last week. I don't know why I skipped over it, but this is from a week ago.
Hi, Ryan and Jay. This is Nick with Freestyle Finds calling from northwestern New Jersey. Here's one for you. So I accept an offer for a relatively higher priced item the other day. I don't receive payment right away. 2 days go by, nothing from the buyer, so I messaged her and I said, payment is required for this purchase. Next day goes by, nothing. I randomly go on my PayPal account and I notice that the payment was received and then immediately refunded on my PayPal transaction history. But I never was mentioned this from me that the payment was received. And then they also didn't contact me to say that it was refunded randomly. So I wound up, the guy basically said that eBay might not have, quote, liked the payment from the buyer, end quote, so to call eBay and see what was going on. So I wound up calling eBay. Long story short, I talked to 3 different people because the first 2 representatives sucked. So the last person finally told me that this happens every once in a while and it's basically a glitch, that unfortunately PayPal never received the payment and that's why I was never contacted. Or eBay was never notified that the payment was received and that's why I wasn't contacted. So have any idea why this happens? Have you ever had something like this happen before? Eventually, the buyer did get back to me, and I did receive payment through eBay and the normal channels, and finally wound up on my PayPal like normal. But it was very interesting that the PayPal account had the purchase and had the payment, and then a refund immediately, like within a minute later. So I have no idea what the hell that was, but any idea what that was? I mean, I've been selling on eBay for 7 years, and I've never seen anything like this. Great show, and thanks for all you do.
So your call broke up a little bit there, but I think we all got the gist of what you were saying. I feel like I must have seen that happen before, but eventually, like you said, as you send like payment reminders, people kind of figure it out. And the only thing I can think is like, someone hasn't used their PayPal account in a while and that their like debit card that's connected to it has expired. I've had stuff like that happen on my account where they're like, you got to update your debit card, do it now. And you're like, oh, oops. Yeah. And so then the payment doesn't go through because they don't have a balance in PayPal, or their checking account changed. So they're like trying to ping the checking account and like, that's not an account anymore. It's got to be something like that. So that's all I can think of. But it is bizarre that like there's no notification other than this is still unpaid when maybe the buyer thinks they paid and they're like, what? I paid. And they're not seeing the notifications or something. That's all I can think of. I mean, if PayPal's not giving you the answer as to what it was, those are the only things I can think of. It's good that they actually paid you, though. It wasn't like a total unpaid item case.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. Keith from Boston again. Calling about the box plots that I called about last week. Yeah, the box plots for the title, all I do is I write the weight of the package, and then what I do is I fill up a large flat rate U.S. priority box, and when it's full, I dump the contents out, take the picture of it. So I write the weight, junk drawer, box lot, estate find, and then whatever letters are left, whatever characters are left, is what I fill it. So if there's buttons, pins, stickers, that's all I write. Knock on wood, maybe I've had 1 or 2 people ask me to sell something individual, but honestly, the things individually have a value of $1 or $2. It's not even worth it. And yeah, that's that. And hey, another tip. Since I've been selling since 1999, I'm going to try to call in every week or every other week. Little tips that I've known just from selling on eBay for so long. When you're searching for an item and you're trying to figure out its value and also trying to write an item title, keep in mind that people misspell things very often, and they also combine and they make two words one when they're not supposed to be. For instance, you said it in your this past week's call, ashtray. Some people will spell it ashtray as in one word, and some people spell it two words, A-S-H, and then space T-R-A-Y. So in your title, I would always, if you do have the space, spell it both ways, because, you know, some people spell it one way, some people spell it the other. Another example is corkscrew. Some people make that one word, some people make it two. Roller skates, same thing, roller and then skates. So, yeah, keep that in mind. I used to collect a lot of items. I used to search eBay like 24/7 looking for certain items, and I would always find great buys because the seller misspelled it or they made one word into two or two into one. All right, that's my tip for the week. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so when we were talking about ashtrays and things like that, and when I'm searching for certain things, I noticed that a lot of times on eBay, if you spell it ashtrays, two words, and then you go back and search ashtrays, one word, the same search results come up. Because I think, I'm hoping that eBay's algorithm is smart enough now to realize you're looking for an ashtray. Like, that's what you're looking for. Some people spell it two words.
Yeah, I don't really see that as being a misspelling, really. I mean, a misspelling is like if you
put like 3 R's in there.
Or something like that.
But I've noticed during searching for price information that eBay is smart enough now, but
although we've had people call in where they're like, I'm searching for things in my own store, and I type in a certain phrase, and my items don't show up.
It's like very specific.
It's one of those things where it's like kind of a black box, that eBay search. I really don't know. So if that works to break up words and put new words, that's fine too.
I never seem to have room to like duplicate words like that, so... Okay, that's it for the podcast. You can check out the blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forum. You can call and leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. Again, that phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video and show what sold and how much it sold for, currently being brought to you by Stephen Schultz. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. And we are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.